Hello, hello, and welcome to the Paisley Penny Arcade. I am Mo. You know who you are. Hey, hey, hey. Pamela, happy eclipse to you too. Yes, today there is a solar eclipse. And if you're in Iceland, lucky you. You get to see it. Hello, Renee. Happy Wednesday. Happy eclipse. New moon eclipse. So, aren't we lucky that we are on the planet when these things happen? Well, because we're alive. Um, I just, pardon me, I just got done watching a bunch of reels on Facebook by a mortician. Um, oh, wild stuff. Every now and then you just think, okay, I'm heading there one of these days. And I, after a while, I stopped and said, enough of that for now. Fascinating stuff because it's some people might say it's morbid, but it's just fact o' the matter, as they say. Fact o' the matter, and it's just the way things are. I mean, that's how it goes. But I happened upon one of them. They shoved it in my face, and I thought, oh, that's fascinating. Um, and you say, well, that's just how it goes. Um, Hello. Hey, howdy. How you doing? Good to see you too. Welcome. Um, it's Mecca, and I'm not sure who it is, but it's good to see you, and welcome. Um, More the merrier. Come on down. Talk to me. Say hello. We're going to go back into the Major Arcana, my Major Arcana, which means secret, or arcane, something is arcane. And we're just going to take that on some more this week. And I'll try and get a little further along. And I'm verbose. That's just the way it is. Verbose. You can't spell verbose without Mo. Well, you can. If my name were Bo, you wouldn't be able to. But I've just finished creating my own personal use only deck. Aha! And it's been an incredible year-long experience that I would never have considered undertaking without your weekly wisdom and encouragement. Well, bless you and thank you. And I'm so happy that I could have been a part of your journey with that. Um, Thanks. And I'm glad that I could um, inspire you with that. It's a wonderful thing, and yeah, it's really something when you create your own deck and you use it, and it works. It's kind of an amazing feeling when you actually go, oh, and it works, and you say, oh, I get this. This is my own deck, and I like the way it feels, and it means something to me. It means something to me. There's a real joy about that. I was blown away the first time I used my deck. Um, huh, Interesting. George Harrison is the Hierophant in my deck, but I snuck a Paisley on his shirt in honor of my tutelage. Well, bless you. Thank you. Yeah, George Harrison is in my Oracle deck, as a matter of fact, a facsimile thereof. Um, yeah, George Harrison is my Seven of Hearts, which I thought was, and he's handing a heart out to the person who is on watching, looking at the card. There's a tree, and there are six hearts in the tree, and he's plucked one and is giving it to the person. Because George was a very heartfelt person, I thought. Poor George, in some ways. Um, he he fell in love with Patty Boyd on the set of Hard Day's Night, as a matter of fact, and ended up marrying her, and Eric Clapton, I guess you could say, stole her away. And you know, Clapton wrote the song Layla about her, and um, life in the big the big times. Um, yeah, very lovely, very George. I always thought he was very, just there was something about George, you know, um, something about George. I'm glad he won that lawsuit, or he, no. I shouldn't put it that way. Um, I felt that what he did was an innocent mistake, and I thought the lawsuit was fair, and I think he actually did too. My sweet Lord, he's so fine. I mean, even the thought of it, I was okay with it. You know what I mean? But he was a very lovely person, and his son Donnie looks so much like him. It's kind of spooky to see. Donnie Harrison looks so much like George. And I think kind of it's weird. I mean, I grew up with the Beatles. Um, I was, I think, in the third, fourth grade when they hit. And it was like I grew up with them. And in 67, when they did, Sergeant Pepper. And um, anyway, congratulations on your deck. I urge all of you, if you can, to create your own deck. Now, there's a lot of hoopla about AI, and a lot of people saying it's purely theft, and I'm here to tell you it's not purely theft. There is a lot of theft, um, but I'm seeing that there is not all of it is theft. It's beginning to create its own version of things, which is kind of startling to me. And so, I think eventually it's going to be creating its own artwork, which is a little bit disconcerting in some ways, but eventually it's going to be creating its own artwork. Um, and if even if you're not an artist, Maka, I mean, if you want to give me a name, that's fine. If not, you don't have to. Are you an artist, or is it just your? I mean, you don't have to tell me, but well, no matter what it is, it's your deck. But I think providing your own art is, no matter how it is a wonderful thing. I congratulate you and all of you who give it a try. But even if you don't create your own deck, doing your own work, creating your own deck, no matter how you do it, even if it's just line drawings, is a fantastic thing to do. And that will be your deck. And you will use it, I predict, maybe for the rest of your life. It's just a wonderful thing to do. Okay, what else is going on? Is there anything else going on in the world? Nothing we're going to talk about here. Um, Meg. Oh, hi, Meg. It's nice to know your name. Not an artist. I can only move a few fingers. Oh, you have cerebral palsy. Well, see, thank you for introducing yourself. You made a deck anyway, and I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did too, and thank you for being a part of this. See, people use the word inspirational all the time, and sometimes they mean it, sometimes they don't, but you have inspired me. And I'll bet you've inspired a lot of people. Yeah, yeah. Um, Thank you, Meg. Thank you for speaking up, and wow, what a labor of love, and what a way to show all of us that it takes truly. I mean, just wow. I don't even know what to say other than thank you for the hard work, and thank you for speaking up and for telling us, Meg, that what a good thing. Sometimes it just takes the decision that you're going to do it and just put it forth. And I'm sure you thought very carefully about, oh, the Hierophant has George. I get it. I do get it. The illuminator of the sacred. And he did that to an entire generation because his spirituality really came through. And he turned a lot of people onto TM. And not everyone's into TM. I was taught transcendental meditation. Um, yeah, yeah. Made a deck anyway, and I'm glad I did. I bet you are. Yeah, I learned TM, and when I used many different meditation styles, and but TM is where I often and most often go. So, and I'm not advocating. I'm not saying it's what's right for you. Um, so There's a type of meditation that I do. I don't understand it. I don't claim to understand it. Um, but I quite often find myself, I'll close my eyes. Let's say I'm somewhere waiting, let's say my wife has an appointment, doctor's appointment, and I'll just close my eyes and I'll quite suddenly see myself sitting on the side of a mountain with a Bodhi seed mala, just exactly like this, and a Tibetan prayer wheel, very similar to this. And I'm sitting on the side of a hill somewhere, craggy hill. The wind is usually blowing. It's rather cold often, but I'm not miserable. And I'm doing this and running beads, and I'm going, oh, money, and I'm just doing this, and I don't. I mean, I'm sitting somewhere, and I close my eyes, and I'm suddenly seeing that myself doing this. Um, it's the strangest thing because that's what I see, and it becomes a meditation, and so it's running the beads, spinning the prayer wheel, and it's soothing and calming, and the wind sometimes blows very hard, and it's extremely cold, and I don't feel bad because I enjoy the cold when it happens, and sometimes it'll start to snow, and sometimes, and the sky is sometimes incredibly blue, and there are prayer flags. It's obviously, to me, it's Tibet, and it's just a remarkable sort of thing because it's a meditation where I'm meditating, and but it's a very specific type of meditation, it's just and it's the strangest thing. What can I say? um I'm awfully fond of this prayer wheel. I have another one right here. It's very noisy. This one is isn't this a great one? I just love this one. It's so noisy, but that's fine. It's just fine. I've got one back here that is on bearings. It's ball bearings, and it just uh, spins, and just oh my goodness. Anyway, so use what worked for you. What works for you? Find your mantra. Find your mandala. Get yourself a good tanka. I don't have a tanka, but anyway. So let's talk. Let's talk to Rome. Let's not dally in the strange stories that I get off on. We'll get there. We'll get there. Meg, you're a bit of a hero today. By the way, today is the 12th of August, 2026. It's a Wednesday. And if you're in the mood for a reading today, you're watching today, you should go to 1-2-Listen. Why? Because at 1-2-Listen on 12th day, the computer takes over and changes all the prices randomly. Nothing over $6.99 a minute, and you're thinking, a minute? Well, yeah, it can be, it can also be lower than that. It can be like $2.99 or whatever. And these are pretty good readers. I used to be there. I'm not there now because I'm home. Well, everyone's home usually, but because I have some duties that I deal with now. Leave it at that. Yeah? Yeah? Okay. So let's talk. Now, I'm going to talk about my deck and why my cards are the way they are. And I hope this is helping you some. I hope so. Let's see, where was I? Where did we leave off? We left off with the lovers, yes. We left off with the lovers. And we did talk about the lovers, so let's go to the next one, shall we? Let's go to the Chariot, which is number 7. Number 7. And in the Crowley deck, number 7. So, and I used his numbering system because it makes perfect sense to me. Now, you'll notice we were just talking about that. It's a mala. And why did I use that amala as a chariot? instead of an actual chariot. Aloha, Lisa. It's awfully good to see you. I hope you're doing well. The reason I did that is because if you remember, we spoke about the book of Ezekiel and how my theory is that the chariot is about Ezekiel, who looked up in the sky and saw God in the chariot, or a facsimile thereof, and saw the cherubs who were zipping in and out and up and down in all these directions. And man, that is, if someone did that today, they would A, totally discount him. They would wonder what he was on, be it DMT or LSD or FBI or CIA. And they would and you know what he did. I mean that was pretty heavy duty stuff. If you read the book of Ezekiel, you'll say, "Oh my God, that's a wild story," and they would say he's mentally ill or he's what's going on. But he was connecting with deity, and how did he do that? Now, there are many different ways that people can do this. They take, it's a shamanistic sort of thing to do. Now, with me, I have had many such experiences. Some have been through Tarot meditations, which I'm going to talk about on this very program in the future. We're going to talk about it. I'm going to teach you how I do it. I also use flutes. You can use rattles, which is something that I have done rather successfully. You have to have the right kind of rattle. I no longer have one. I used to use a rattle that my son had back in the day. Believe it or not, it was a Tupperware toy that they came out with back in the day. They were incredibly loud, and it was round, and it was very similar to the ones that the Tsimshian First Nations used, the shamans of that group. Very, very fantastic. I wish I still had it. I mean, you give things away and you don't realize what you're doing. I should have kept it, but that was 47 years ago. So you do what you do, you know. But and I used to just float when I used that thing. But flutes are good. The ones I use are end-blown PVC flutes and a wooden one that I have. It's an Asazi flute. Hard to play, but once you've got it, it's it's one of those things that and you have experiences that you cannot explain otherwise. I'm actually thinking, I just had the idea just like last night to write a book called Tarot Meditations. I don't know if any of you would be interested in such a thing, but just call it Tarot Meditations, about meditations I've had, and to do some more and to write down, because I think they kind of explain the cards. But that's just an idea I've had. And what do we got? Some messages in here. Lisa, I know you have my deck. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. It's very kind. Oh, Meg, you ordered a copy? Okay, thank you so much. Oh, cool. Yeah. Good. Well, thank you. Yeah, if you ordered it from Hong Kong, it'll take a while to get to you, but you will get it. The company is actually very honest and reputable and good. It comes in a white box. I couldn't figure out how to do the graphics for the box, and it also adds like another $1,000 or something to it. So I figured, that way it's like in a brown paper bag, that sort of thing. So no one has to know your business. But so I realized that the whole point for me is that I have had some of the most remarkable experiences with a mala and the process itself. So that's why I created the Chariot this way, because to me, it's about the connection. And I think that we need to, in my opinion, we need to emphasize the importance of meditation. Meditation as a connection to the more important aspect of finding that conduit, finding that connection to that other portal, that other side. I've had some amazing experiences. Um, I was playing my one of my flutes. And they're called a ney, Egyptian ney or the Turkish ney. I was playing an Egyptian ney, and I was playing it, and then I just stopped. And I was shown something that I could never have known otherwise. I would love to tell you it, but it's complicated and long-winded, and it just so blew me away. I mean, I was just completely ruptured by the piece of information. I had to actually research it, like what the heck does this mean? It was a date, and when I found out what the date meant, I was completely blown away. And it literally, and it's similar to I was meditating once, and at the, I was frustrated because something hadn't happened, and I was using my mala, and I was just just running the beads, and I closed my eyes, and suddenly a man walked right up to me and threw a piece of string on my nose and said, "Now don't move. Are you sure you're ready? Are you ready? Now stand up." And the implication was that piece of string better not fall off your nose. And he said, "Are you sure you're ready?" And I realized, no, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I mean, when I used to do my readings, that very mala that I just showed you, I used to use that constantly when I did my readings, whether it was on the phone or in person, and it would tune me right in. The chariot is a vehicle. And it doesn't matter whether the vehicle is a set of beads, or no matter what it is. Don't negate and don't neglect. You see how I did that? I learned that from our leader. Don't negate or neglect your connection to something um, as simple as as um, as meditating, or just taking a moment to ground and center. That's why I use this as the chariot. People today, when they're learning tarot, they think that the chariot is about, I'm going to take a trip. Why would the major arcana be that? No, it's about something much greater than that. It's about a communion with something very specific, something as great as deity, or something as great as well, communication with, you get me, right? Okay. All right. So let's stop it at that, or I'll be here in 40 minutes still talking about this. That's the chariot. That's what this means to me. You know, it's, I don't know if you've ever astral projected, but I have. And it was real. And it was so incredible. And it was so genuine. And I know it. I was able to tell a friend what he was doing, raking in his yard. And I was able to tell him what he was wearing. And he made me promise never to do it again. Never to do it again. You know? And bonjour. Hi. Just hi. Mo, happy eclipse. I think I'll always think of you on Eclipse Day from now on, since the last big one we had. Yes, yes, that's true. I was freaking out, and I'm a little less freaking out about eclipses, Anne, I will tell you. I was like, I don't like eclipses, and I still am a little wary of them. They closed Monument Valley because the Diné Nation, the Navajo Nation, they're very well, they with good reason maybe, but I've also had some thoughts about it. I'm older now, a couple of years. I think I'm not going to be quite so nervous about them anymore. I don't think. I was a little miffed when we had one that came over my house that was 98% total, and my sister-in-law lives um, 5-6 hours away in totality. And my wife said, I don't want to drive 5 or 6 hours. 5 or 6 hours. I said, come on, 5 or 6 hours. We can, spend the night and see the total eclipse I've never seen when I was. No, she said, okay. So we could have hopped in the chariot. And okay, let's forget about that. But so glad you're here, Ann. So glad you're here. All right, let's take a look at the next one, adjustment. Now, this is the result, the direct result of a um, meditation on the card. On Crowley's card, which is the adjustment card with Ma'at, the ancient Egyptian goddess of truth. And I was meditating upon that, and I found myself with my heart. And one thing you can do is you can come back, rewind this, and you can zoom in on the card if you wish. And you can get a little better look. You can see that there is a baboon or a baboon right up there eyeing the heart, because the whole story is that creature there, known as Amam, right, or Amet, but Amam is part leopard, maybe cheetah, I think it's leopard, and part crocodile and part hippopotamus, and it is a terrible creature, wonderful creature, but it can. It's there to devour your heart, and that heart is like a little jar, but it actually is kind of a stylized heart. And it is being weighed, it's your heart, it's being weighed against that feather on the other side, which is a stylized, well, it's the feather of Ma'at, and Ma'at is the personification of truth. She was the goddess of truth, and Ma'a means truth. And at the top, we see Thoth, the god of wisdom and medicine and writing the rituals of magic. Anubis, the twin brother, was, well, we'll talk about Anubis sometime. Um, um, my patron in many ways, and the dark side of the moon, and sometimes the new moon, depending upon. But so what happens is that your heart is weighed against that. And what I saw was I was standing there, and the whole point of this hall of judges, in the old Egyptian version of it, there are 43 judges, one for each nome. Each nome was like its own little city-state sort of thing, and the gnomes were ruled by a god. So, and they may look like, okay, so here's one ruled by Thoth, and here's ruled by Anubis, and here's one with a god that looks like Anubis. His name is Apuet, and so on and so forth. And but what I saw was not these 43 judges. What I saw were my ancestors. I was like, oh my God, these were all the people who have gone before me, all the way back to my ancient Egyptian ancestors and other ancestors. For example, on my mom's side, there were Swedes. This was a big secret on her side of the family, because it was like, don't tell anyone. She told my sister, because my sister said, Mom, why did, Grandpa have blue eyes, and why does my brother have blue eyes? Not me, but we have a brother who has blue eyes. And what is it? She said, Shireen, don't tell anyone. It's Swedish. It's like, oh no. It's like, oh, okay, well, that's cool. But, and I could see all these people all the way back. So that's what this represents. This is balance. This is, but the whole point was, it wasn't, were you bad? Were you good? It's, can you own up to your truth? And that's what this represents. Can you own up to who you are? That's what this card is about. In reality, can you own up? Can you own up to what's going on? And if you don't tell the truth, if you can't own up to it in front of your ancestors, so to speak, then your heart gets thrown to right? And then you know what the fate is? Reincarnation. To the Egyptians was the worst possible fate there was. Man, what a drag, right? You have to live over it. You might not come back as an Egyptian. You might come back as something else. And they loved being Egyptians. They loved it. So that's why my card is this. Good enough, I think. Good enough. And someday maybe more. I don't know. It seems a little self-serving, but And by the way, I did put a link to. I'm going to put a link in this show too, on this show. If you want to find these cards, I'm going to put a link to where you can buy them from. Thank you, Meg. By the way, very kind of you. The Hermit. Now, I've thought of other better hermits. I guess not better, but I think you know. Remember, Saint Anthony is the hermit in the real tarot deck. I shouldn't put it that way. In the conventional tarot deck, he just said, "I'm tired of people. I don't like people. I'm leaving people," and he went and lived in a cave. My hermit guy is Ahab from Moby Dick, and Captain Ahab hated Moby Dick so much because Moby Dick took his leg. And when he was a harpoonist or a harpooner or a harpooning expert, whatever you want to call him, and he so hated him, and that harpoon should be a lot longer than I drew it, but that's all right. I wanted to get the idea across that he was willing to sacrifice everybody and everything on a boat that he didn't own, right? And there's so many things about Ahab that people don't really think about. Melville tells us that Ahab is an Egyptian. He tells it right in the book, and people don't pay attention to that. He says, within his Egyptian chest, beat this heart. I mean, it's just right there. And I don't think it's metaphor or anything else. It's because all the harpoonists on the Pequod are, they're kind of one's an Indian, one is Queequeg, and he's a pagan, and one's a Native American, one's an African prince, and they're just not, none of them are Christian, I don't think, and so we've got this. But anyway, the hermit is following his own path. And I really like that about choosing Ahab, because the hermit doesn't care about other people's paths. And yet he lures all these people onto his ship so that he can, even these Chinese people, who are kind of like magician kind of weird people, and he lures them all onto the Pequod. And so when you're dealing with a hermit, you have to make a decision. Are you going to follow him or her and endanger yourself, right? When you see this card, you have to ask, what is the task of any hermit? Are you being a hermit? What is it that you are following? Are you following something that is going to be destructive, or are you following something that is going to be beneficial? I always ask that when I see this card. What is it? What is the obsession? What is it that is going to be? And is it going to take down the entire ship, as happens with Ahab? And he, in the movie Moby Dick, by John Huston, I think it's John Huston. I can't remember his first name, but I think it's John Huston. He has, Ahab lashed to the side of Moby Dick, and he's waving his arm back and forth. That's not how it ends. In the book, he throws this harpoon, and what happens is the harpoon has a noose on the end, and it wraps around his neck and drags him down underwater. In other words, he hangs, essentially. And that's like this really weird ending. It's like he pays for sacrificing his entire crew. Only one person lives, and that's Ishmael to tell the story. And so we realize that the hermit, there's really a lesson to be learned here, isn't there? And I think the hermit always has a lesson to be learned. So ask yourself, what is the lesson to be learned with the hermit? I always think that's very important. Yeah? Okay. I'm not going to worry about reversals or anything like that. But if you get a look at this guy, look at his eyes. He's determined. He has one thing in mind, and that is vengeance. Right now, we've got a hermit situation in this country. We have someone with vengeance in mind. And really, that's, what's it going to be? What's it going to be? Is he going to take the ship down? I don't think so. It's a big ship, and it's a strong ship, right? At least I hope so. At least I hope so. Okay. All right. Okay, let's do away with that. Okay, next card, Fortune. Now, I designed this card because the wheel itself, there's on one side there are demons, and it's dark, and it's a Ferris wheel. And on one side you're riding it, and you're riding it, and you're sitting in it, and it's upside down. And the demons and whatever the little imps, they're hounding you. And on the other side, it's right side up, and it's sunny, and there are bluebirds and canaries, and it's wonderful. And that's just how life is. Life is one side fine, and the other side it's not so fine. And I did this quite on purpose, because that's the way life is. And so, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? So when you get this card, you have to decide if it's right side up or upside down, but it's more an intuition card for me. I always can feel it. When I turn this card over, I get a feel, Is it going to be demons or bluebirds? That's just a very simple thing. The wheel is about, once again, this sort of what part of life are we in? There are times we've all been through this. We've all been through this. When you meet someone for the first time and you feel that zing, I remember when I met my ex-wife for the first time. I was canaries and bluebirds. It was sunshine. It was, oh my God. It was love at first sight. I don't know how else to explain it. That was it was right there, right then and there. I was 20 years old, and I just went, oh my God. And unfortunately, by the time it was over, it was demons. It was just horrible. And, it's just the way life is. And you have those moments in life when things are just the way it is. So that is this card. And I like to use this card through intuition. I don't like to say that it's one way upside down or right. I like to let my intuition do its thing. C.A. Brooks and I were talking yesterday on her show. She saw a symbol on a card, and she had never noticed it before, and she uses the cards quite a bit, and she saw a symbol she had never noticed before, and we talked about that. I told her about a couple of experiences I had. I was using the Crowley deck, and there was the art card, and there was a skull on the crucible, and I had never noticed it really. I mean, I knew it was there, but it just was like looming. And I said to the fellow, I said, "Do you have something to do with death?" And he looked real surprised. He said, "I'm a mortician." And I just went, "Oh my God, well, that's," and you try not to jump up and down and want to give yourself a hug and and a blue ribbon and stuff. And another time I was doing something, and it was the emperor, and I noticed that there was a bee on his tunic, and I you don't really notice those things, but I could hear bees and in my mind, and I was like, oh my God. I said, "What do you have to do with bees? Are you a beekeeper?" And the lady, I think it was, and she said, "How could you know that?" And I thought, and I just said, "Well, it's what I do," because you're trying not to scream and shout and go, "Oh my God, how do I do this?" But it's what we do. If your intuition is allowed to take over when you're doing readings, boy, oh boy, howdy, that's what happens. Let your intuition work with this card. Okay? Okay. All right, there we are. The next card, Strength. What is stronger than the Sphinx at Giza? Is there anything stronger than the Sphinx at Giza? I don't think there is anything stronger than the Sphinx at Giza. I don't think there is. Napoleon did not shoot off the nose. I had a history teacher in college who kind of annoyed me. So I asked him, I said, doctor, he was a nice guy. I said, did Napoleon shoot off the Sphinx's nose? And he said, I don't know. I knew the answer. No, it was not him. And but I was just trying to, I don't know why I did such stupid things. I was so weird. I still am so weird. But he looked it up, and I actually did not with him. I did a tutorial with a professor, my classics professor, on Egyptology. That guy read 3 books every week to the one book that he assigned me. God almighty, he was amazing. He didn't own a TV. That was the difference. Not that I owned a TV, but I drank college and did other things as well. But anyway, so this is strength. I changed Crowley's lust because this did not apply here. I couldn't, with a good conscience, do that. You see that thing between his paws? That big thing up against his chest? I touched that. That's the stele of Thutmose the Fourth, and I almost got arrested, but I did touch it. And I've been there. I've stood at the in between the paws of the Sphinx. One of the most important moments of my life. I was 18. It changed my life. Strength, power. It's only made out of limestone. They've covered it with brick to repair because it's old. It's old. It's from the Old Kingdom, and I believe it's old. I don't believe that it's 10,000 years old. I believe it's 5,000 years old, probably from Khafra, the builder of the pyramid that is right in back there with the capstone that you can see. Not capstone. Oh, excuse me. I did not mean to sneeze in your ears. My allergies, they're mine. I own them. Are just running rampant over me. And I do apologize for that. The lighter limestone topping there, because it looks like Khafra. There is a beautiful statue of Khafra with Horus protecting him. And it looks a lot like him, the flat face and all of that. I don't believe it's Zoser. His grandfather. I apologize. I'm so sorry. But my God, the Giza Plateau is sacred to me. My cousin lives in Giza, not far. He said you could see the pyramids from my house, and I said if I lived anywhere around there, I would be at the Giza Plateau every single day. He said you get tired of it. I said no, I wouldn't. I'd be there every single day, and I would because it's sacred ground. Strength, power, longevity, name it. It's there. Find a picture of the Sphinx, a good, solid picture of the Sphinx. You're going to see graffiti on the Sphinx. That is from the time of Julius Caesar. You're going to see Lord Byron's name on the Sphinx. You're going to see Ulysses S. Grant's name on the Sphinx. I did. You're going to see things that are going to boggle your mind. And if you touch it, you're going to go to prison. But I didn't, because my dad's cousin was the undersecretary of tourism and was, thank God, right there. Otherwise, I would have spent the night in an Egyptian prison or jail, probably. Strength. Enough said. Thank you, Anne. Merci. You're so sweet. Okay, here we go. Next card. The Hanged Man. Ah, yes. Instead of the typical hanged man, and I'm going to talk about that in just a second, I have Odin hanging from Yggdrasil, right? And the story is Odin's so despondent that every generation of humanity was forced to learn everything all over again. Got up on Yggdrasil, the world tree, which is either an ash tree or a yew tree. I prefer yew, just because it's fun to say yew. No, it's because the yew tree is poisonous, and is hallucinogenic and is forbidden in churches. I love that. And is often in courtyards of churches and in cemeteries, and is sacred. Is sacred. I love yew trees. I like ash trees too. They when they go dormant in the fall, they change from orange to purple, and they're so magnificent in their coloration. Oh my God! But yew trees are so flexible. They used to make arrows and bows out of yew trees, long bows. So what he did is he disemboweled himself and hanged himself upside down from Yggdrasil, the world tree, for 9 days and nights. And he's bleeding over this well, the well of Weird or Word, or I don't know how to pronounce it. Wenarod. And he's hanging over this well, and his drops of blood are falling into the well. And as they're falling in, as he's beginning to die after 9 days, and the number 9, of course, is very significant because a god's day is a human's month. And so we have him hanging upside down by his intestines. Yeah, you get it? 9 months, 9 days. Anyway, hanging upside down. So he's doing that, and he sees these drops of blood glimmering golden inside the well, and he reaches down and grabs them and realizes that they're runes. They're runes, and he begins to die. And as he's convulsing in death, he grabs the runes that have been formed by his blood and pulls them out of the well and saves them and puts them outside of the well, and then he dies. But he's Odin, man. He lives. He is recreated. That's the hanged man that I like. And I think that's the prototype for a lot of hanged men. Love that. That's the hanged man. Sacrifice. That's sacrifice. That's the sacrifice, and that allows humanity to create writing, which allows humanity to create history. I love that story, and that to me is a worthy hanged man. Now, interestingly enough, at one story, Odin plucks his eye out of his head to exchange that eye for a perfect memory, to exchange it for language, to exchange it for the runes. Yeah, it's one story. And when he does that, he's one-eyed. Now, another one-eyed god created hieroglyphics, and that's Thoth. One-eyed gods often create writing. Why is that? Because they create a two-dimensional world that becomes real. Why? Why? Because they can't see in 3 dimensions anymore. So they create a reality of 2 dimensions. Now, let's talk about the old hanged man, okay? Shall we, just for a second? Bear with me just for a second. Remember this guy? Now, when I saw the reliquary of the Vatican that they sent over here to Denver, and I went in and I went to the art museum and I saw the reliquary indeed had something very similar to this, with a nimbus around the head, the halo. And it was made out of metal. It was made out of, and it just had these rays coming out of it, out of the head. And I thought, well, what is that about? I guess he's holy, but the Vatican wouldn't help me. They wouldn't say what was going on with that. I know what it is. This weekend, I don't give up. And I won't give up until I find out who it is. But I still don't know who it is, but I know what it is. I'm very excited to tell you. So, I found out not about a Catholic saint, but about a Protestant saint whose name is Saint Jan Smit. He was an Anabaptist. The Anabaptists believed that kids couldn't be baptized because they're kids. They can't make decisions. So they would have baptized. They were Mennonites. They would baptize when they're about, 30, something like that. Younger, perhaps. And then, but this guy, Saint Jan Smit, was hung by one leg, just like this. He was Dutch. And he was hung by one leg, and they hung him for a few hours, and his knee came out of joint, and he was in agony, of course. Didn't kill him, but do you know what did kill him? They started a fire underneath him. And of course, guess what? His hair started on fire, and his head started on fire. That's what this is. Although Pamela Coleman Smith might not have known that, but that's what a lot of the paintings and drawings may have been. That would be a way to kill someone who is hung upside down, correct? Or hanged. Let's I have to make that distinction. Who is hanged upside down? That is what I believe that was. That's what that was in the Vatican reliquary. You would burn them upside down. What a terrible way to go, don't you think? Your hair starts on fire. You would probably die of inhalation, but that's what it's about. Now, I know the rest of the story, and I will eventually find out who it is. Okay, I just had to tell you that. So that is my hangman. I love the meaning of that better. Don't you? I do. I just think it makes more sense. And yeah, sacrifice. And self-sacrifice for the right reason. Odin, I like Odin. He actually was more about peace than anything else. A lot of people don't understand that about him. I think the Thor movies catch it pretty well. Okay, so where are we now? Let's see, we are with Odin, and we go next to death. Another Norse myth, the story of Loki. Balder the Beautiful. Balder the Beautiful was this sun god, essentially. Let's just cut it close. Freya had a son. Freya and Odin had a son named Balder. Balder the Beautiful. And he had a brother, and his name was Hoder. And Hoder was blind. He was very strong, but he was blind. And Freya said, Balder the Beautiful, I'm going to get a vow that no one, nothing on earth, of earth, sea, and sky, be it fish, be it plant, be it anything, can hurt Balder. And he will live forever. And everything will be great. And everything will be happy. And la-di-da-di-da. And so we're going to have a big party. And we're going to have, you can throw stones at him. You can throw entire trees at him. And nothing will hurt him. And so they did just that. And they got drunk, and they're throwing things, and they're throwing boulders, and the boulder will come right up to him, and it will fall. Nothing hurt him. Nothing hurt him. And they're, Thor's throwing his hammer, Mjolnir, at him, and it just falls to the ground before it hits him. I mean, nothing's happening. Fire, they're throwing fire at him. Fire has taken this oath. Nothing hurts him. She forgot mistletoe, because mistletoe doesn't grow. It's a parasite. It grows on other trees. And she forgot mistletoe. She forgot to get its oath. So Loki took the form of an old woman. And Loki's just malicious. He's just cantankerous, malicious. What a guy. So he goes to Hoder. He says, do you want to play? And Hoder says, I can't see. He says, I'll guide your hand. But he takes the form of an old hag. Old woman. He says, don't worry. I'll help you. Don't worry. And so he takes a piece of mistletoe and forms it into a dart. And mistletoe hasn't taken the oath because Freya forgot. And he says, here, I'll hold your hand and I'll aim it. Just take this piece of wood, don't worry, and throw it as hard as you can, and I'll aim your hand. and he throws it, and it goes and it pierces Baldur's heart. And Baldur falls to the ground dead. And that's why we have darkness in the year. And of course, we're talking Norway or Finland. I mean, we're talking the Norse, and that's why it's dark, like, 6 months of the year. And it's dark. I mean, it gets dark. No sun. Land of the midnight sun, too, yes, but boy, it gets dark and cold. And so that's why I chose that story as my death card, because it tells you that no matter what sort of deal you make, no matter how much you think you can outsmart it, you can't. You can't. I was once doing a party back when I was a yo-yo pro for millionaires in a condo, sort of. It was a millionaire condo. And a woman kept coming on to me. Very rich woman, mind you, but she kept coming on to me, and she was, I'm going to say, quite beautiful, but I don't do those types of things. She wanted to take me upstairs and bed me down. And I was like, God, she must be into bestiality. I'm kidding. I don't feel that badly about myself. I was young. I was still in my early 40s. And she was just, and some guy said, is she hitting on you? I said, mercilessly. He said, you didn't even consider. I said, well, she's quite pretty, but I don't do those types of things. He said, you should be very grateful. I said, why? Is she diseased? He said, of the mind. He said, go over there and look at her hands. So I went over and I looked at her hands, and I was horrified because they were the hands of someone who was in their 80s. I said, my God, how old is she? She said, very old. He said, yeah, she goes to Switzerland and has like all these treatments and lamb placenta. I said, she doesn't look a day over like 30 or something. He said, you wouldn't believe the things that she does trying to stave off death. And I thought, but you can't do that. He said, no, you can't. But the rich can try, and they can do whatever they want to do. And the truth is, you just can't. It's impossible. And that's with anything, a job, anything. You can't fool nature. Nature is powerful. And there is nothing as known as the supernatural. Everything is natural, you see. And we are all part of it. And Loki is nothing more than a form of nature. See? And nature does have a sense of humor. It just isn't very nice. Okay, well, I've gone too long. But so that's that. I don't mean it as, it does seem cruel, doesn't it? But the truth is, that is the way of the world, right? That is the way of the world. That's just the way it is. It's a remarkable thing. You see, this is how I feel about Tarot. I don't like this skull, this memento mori sort of thing. I think that when we try and beat the system's always going to show us that it can't be beat. I think we need to know that the odds are with the house. People play craps. They're always trying to beat the house, but we know that the house has all the odds. We're just trying to beat it. So what you have to do is realize that the fun is in playing the game. Am I right? I think I'm right. All right. I had fun today. We're going to do this again next week. So if you're interested, I'm going to try and finish this up. We'll see how I do. I love cards. I love Tarot. I love the world of symbolism. Symbols are so fantastic because they're ours, but they're not. All right. Have a lovely week. Have a lovely week. Oh, thank you, Meg. Thank you. All of you have a lovely week. Have a safe week. It's kind of crazy out there, but we're a little crazier. Okay? Until next week, I wish you all peace and I wish you all love. I love you all. And I will talk to you later. Okay? All right. See you later. Oh, wait. I have to, before I end this, bye-bye, Mo. It was lovely to, and your knowledge. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful week. Oh, bye-bye. Love you all.